Hello and welcome to the Frederick Family Acre. My name's Katrina and welcome to our kitchen. Today is going to be one of our first cooking videos. If you missed it, we did a vlog about a week and a half ago now where we talked about kind of what our plans are for the future of our channel. And if you missed that, we'll go ahead and have the link for that down in the description so you can watch it later. But I'm very excited to start sharing about cooking from scratch. I feel very passionate about cooking from scratch. Long before we were gardening, I was cooking from scratch. It's something that is so much fun. It can actually save you a lot of money, plus your food is so much healthier. And today we are going to be making some really yummy herbed dinner rolls. These dinner rolls are very popular. There has not been an outdoor barbecue or dinner that I've taken these to that I've not been asked for the recipe. And the best part is they only take about 30 minutes. And yes, they do use conventional yeast, but I also have modified them since getting the sourdough bug so that you can use up some of that sourdough discard that you most likely have on hand if you do cook with sourdough. And one of the best things about these dinner rolls is that you most likely already have all the ingredients in your pantry, and they are very simple, foolproof, excellent for beginners. I'm gonna have the amounts of all the ingredients down in the description so you can check that out along with the specific note about how to use the sourdough discard if that's what you choose to do. That is what I'm doing today. So let's go ahead and take a look at our ingredients and see what it is we're going to be using. Now, like I said, all of our ingredients are simple pantry staples. I have all-purpose flour, but you can use any flour you want. I would not recommend using more than 50% whole wheat or white whole wheat. I also have yeast. This is an instant yeast or a rapid rise, but you could also use active dry. Any yeast will do. Olive oil, sugar, some butter, water, which is warm, but make sure it's not more than 110 degrees because you don't want to kill your yeast when we mix all this up together. I am using sourdough discard today, but this is totally optional. I do love this update to this recipe because it just adds that delicious sourdough flavor with so much less time than sourdough loaf. I also have some coarse sea salt and, of course, some rosemary fresh from the garden. Now let's go ahead and get this mixed up. Now to get started, the first thing we're gonna do is add our water, sugar, oil into the bowl. And then you can use a spoon for this, but I just use my hands. I find they're the best tool. You always have them, you don't lose them. The kids can't put them in the wrong kitchen drawer. So go ahead and mix that up however you like. And once that's done, now we're gonna go ahead and sprinkle on the yeast, and then we will be waiting about 3 to 10 minutes until that is activated. It has been about 5 minutes for me since I put this yeast in, but that could be quicker or longer depending on your water temperature and how warm it is in your house. Once your yeast is ready, we are ready to just get that flour right in there along with our sourdough discard if you are using it. Well, one note about using the sourdough discard is my sourdough discard is 100% hydration, which means for every 4 ounces of flour I add, I'm adding exactly 4 ounces of water. So if I'm adding 1 cup of starter, I'm just gonna do half a cup less flour, and I did half a cup less of water. So like I said, I'm gonna have that note in the descriptions typed out in detail so you can read over it if you choose to do this option. So now we're just gonna get that flour in there along with our sourdough starter. And once again, we're just gonna get in there with our hands. It's also important to note that if you are using sourdough starter, you should make sure that it's been out on the counter at room temperature because if it is cold, it will slow the rise on your rolls, and that will mean that they're not gonna come together as quickly as the hopefully 30-minute mark that we're aiming for these bad boys. As you're working this, I tend to change over to my other hand as I finish up kneading because it is really sticky to start out when you get in there. But eventually it won't stick very much. It will be slightly sticky. If you would like it to be less sticky, just add an extra tablespoon of flour at a time. I have found that having it be slightly more hydrated, a little less flour, helps these rolls be a lot more fluffy. Now I'm gonna wash up my hands and then we are gonna get these guys in a pan. Once your hands are clean, these are not gonna stick as much. It will still be a little sticky. One way to combat that is, I'm actually gonna steal some of this butter. You can put a little bit of butter or oil on your hands. And I also here have a very well-oiled 9x13 pan. And for this dough, it can make 12 to 16 rolls. It kind of just depends on the size. So what I do is I just eyeball it in half and then I go ahead and quarter it. I'll roll it into kind of a log shape. It doesn't have to be exact. You can weigh these if you want. I don't have time for that. And then you just roll them, get them stuck up into your pan. Now, you don't have to roll these into a ball like this. Sometimes you can also just push them up like this so it's folded underneath. Kind of just your preference, do whatever feels easy and don't worry too much about them all being the exact same size. Now what we're gonna do is go ahead and set these aside to rise. That can be anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. Again, it's gonna depend on the temperature that you have in your house, but I will show you kind of what you want them to look like before we pop them in the oven. Now that we have let our rolls rise, we are ready to complete the last couple steps before we put these in the oven, which is preheating to 400 degrees. While these were rising, I went ahead and melted about 4 or 5 tablespoons of butter. You can do as much or as little butter as you like, really. It is important that you use butter. It's part of what makes it super delicious. Don't use margarine. If you're in a pinch, you can use olive oil, but highly recommend the butter. Now, you do want to get butter on every single roll. Don't push too hard. You can do a little pressure because they are fairly sturdy rolls, but you don't want to deflate the little bit of rise we've had happen, and these are actually going to grow a lot more in the oven. Once the butter is on, it's time to sprinkle the rosemary. I just chopped this up a little bit. It's not super fine. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're gonna go ahead and sprinkle a little bit of rosemary onto each one of these rolls. Rosemary just happens to be our favorite because rosemary rolls go with so many meals. But you can adjust this recipe to fit your family's taste. I've done this with crushed garlic and Parmesan. You can go ahead and crush garlic into the pan with that butter when you melt it before you put the Parmesan on. It's so good. I've kneaded in a cup of cheddar cheese. You could add olives to this. I wouldn't do too much because of the water content, but pretty much any herb or cheese combo you can put in here. Now, the final thing is to get some coarse salt and sprinkle it on top. I have sea salt here, but you can use pink Himalayan salt, any salt that you like. Now these are ready. We're gonna get them in the oven for 10 to 12 minutes. Mostly we're gonna be looking for them to be golden brown on top. And here they are. As you can see, they are lightly golden brown. They rose so that they're touching and they look absolutely perfect. We are going to be eating these with dinner tonight, so I'm gonna take them out of here right away and put them into the bowl. You can let them cool in here, just if you take them out right away, do so with caution. And there they are. Absolutely beautiful, completely delicious, and sure to please anyone that you decide to share them with. If you try out this recipe, please leave me a comment below and let me know how it went for you. And let me know if you use that sourdough discard swap, because it was one of my favorite updates to this recipe. I hope that you and your family do enjoy it if you try it, and I will see you back here in the kitchen soon. Pre-dinner cooking activity. Make sure any flies that got in through the door being left open get killed.
We are recording now.
We're ready to season the rolls. Okay, we're not doing that though. Ready to season the rolls. You got this?